Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
What is up? What is up? It's that time of the week, or should I say the weekend is here. Shout out to JB the Ticket. You can follow him at the Vegas Scoreboard Express on the Twitter for the intro. I say that because I'm still waiting for some more stuff from him. So maybe if he's listening, he'll crawl back into that studio. But thank you, JB. Yes, another weekend is here, and the official last day of September. Woke up this morning, landscape is here, that cool, crisp smell of fall, autumn, and I love this time of year. I can smell the grass. It looks like Augusta, Georgia again, not Augusta, Maine, like in the middle of the summer. So I am happy. I am blessed. But I am more happier and blessed that we got Southside Riley back with us today. This week has been real tough. Been short menus, and nothing like going through an MLB slate with 3 games to talk about. So trying to give him some time to catch up through some stuff. But without further ado, let's bring him in from the South Side himself, the one and only Mr. Riley Magnuson. Morning, sir.
Morning, my friend. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. Yeah, you mentioned it. I don't know about you, but well, you mentioned it. You love this time of year. The weather starts to change a little bit, as do I. As someone who is a football lover of all levels in the Midwest, it always just feels like football is even more. Obviously, we've been living it for a month, but now that cooler weather starts to kick in, and Big Ten weather is kind of what I call it as far as these parts over in my neck of the woods. So I am juiced to be here. Wild, yeah, we don't need to talk too much about it, but wild scenes last night for the NFL game, Thursday Night Football. But I'll take a 2-0 night on the Thursday Night Football blog. I'll escape and try and leave everything else in the rearview mirror. But yeah, ready to roll into the weekend, man. I'm feeling pretty solid. Solid Big Ten slates, all 14 teams, 7 games. So I'm ready to rock and roll, my friend.
We'll wait till tonight, 4 o'clock my time, 3 o'clock your time. We're going to do the closing bell. Scott is at work. He works for Ace, a big-time manager, whatever his title is there. And so they are basically in I want to say a code red for Florida. He survived. I don't know if he's got power back yet. Obviously, Fort Myers was devastated. Some other places devastated. And I don't want to say hats off to the people that stayed there. I mean, when you're talking some of the destruction and the flooding there, I guess once you survived one, you kind of just, I see a lot of people in Florida with that attitude. It's just a Cat 3. It's not a problem. And it just takes, I'm witnessing the tornadoes, the floods. And in Tampa alone, this woman showed a picture of what was the Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. And it was actually, you could see the bottom of the ground. I guess in these hurricanes, they actually they suck up all the water. So, it was just dirt. And then they take it, and that's what flooded, I assume, Fort Myers.
Yeah, it looks rough. I saw some footage of one. I think I can't remember which college it was, one of the college campuses, and everyone's, the dorms half underwater, everyone's cars underwater. So I told you, I in the Midwest, I do not have much experience with hurricanes, but so I can't give any advice any which way. But it's been a tough week, obviously, for everyone involved.
Before we dive into the 7 games, I like to go back a little on last week. Any surprises? You got 4 weeks of sample, or if you want to call week 0 in there, we're coming up to the 5th week. The creams settle into the top. You got a big game coming up. I think it's in 2 weeks now, where Penn State goes to the Big House. You're seeing that Ohio State offense get cranked up. Michigan is kind of just taking where they went last year. They just keep steamrolling through everyone. We've talked a little about Northwestern. We've talked at length about Nebraska. You got an Iowa-Michigan game this weekend that, we were talking last night on the show, first 1 to 20 wins. And but what's your assessment so far of the Big Ten?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that I would add that you didn't mention there, I've been talking the last couple of weeks until I'm blue in the face about how damn good the Minnesota Gophers are, man.
Yes.
I think they're the best team in the Big Ten West by a decent margin, and I honestly am starting to believe they could be the best team behind Ohio State. Obviously, Michigan, Penn State would throw their name in that ring for sure, but and then going the opposite way, trending down. We talked about them a little bit in the past. Michigan State the last 2 weeks, obviously non-conference 2 weeks ago. Now against those Gophers last week, got their butts kicked. And tomorrow is going to be a better gauge. That's honestly as far as can we believe in these teams? Can we trust in these teams? Michigan State, Maryland tomorrow. Curious to get to that one and talk about that one because I'm not quite sure what the public perceptions across the nation are of those two teams. But Michigan kind of cruising. I mean, you can make the argument that that Maryland Michigan last week, if Maryland doesn't botch the opening kickoff and Michigan puts a touchdown in literally 3 seconds up, then maybe Maryland's got a chance of winning that damn game. So. Interested to see how both those games play out between Michigan and Iowa, and then Maryland and Michigan State. But another interesting one with Purdue and Minnesota. Really, game time decision for Aiden O'Connell. Really bummed about that one. I was starting to buy into the Purdue hype train. No pun intended with Purdue there, to some degree. But without Aiden O'Connell, I mean, we saw it last week. Burton, their backup, kind of struggling with FAU a little bit and fighting to the last whistle to get the win there. So we'll see what our thoughts are, whether or not O'Connell's back or not. But it's been interesting. A couple of teams that are probably top half but really flawed. Interested to see where they go tomorrow and how they fare. But I think the 3 or 4 or 5 teams are kind of separating themselves. Then there's that middle pack, and then there's the bottom tier teams that some are scrapping, some are maybe a little fraudulent. I don't know. But, I think tomorrow's and the next couple of weeks should be a better gauge of where exactly these teams are. So I'm excited. I've been excited every single week for Big Ten football, and, this one's no different. So, it should be a hell of a week, man, and I think we'll have some better answers each and every week after we finally get some Big Ten play more than I think everyone's played one conference game so far, and that's it. So this will be number 2 for everybody, but should be a heck of a ride starting this week, I think.
Well, the board is yours, my friend.
Alrighty. Oddly enough, kind of bizarre in the Big Ten, but I think we only got 3 early games, usually more Big Ten games in the early window there, but should be 3 decent ones, I think. I guess we'll start with Illinois and Wisconsin here. This one is at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's been right around 7-point favorites. Curious what you're seeing as far as money splits. I'm seeing Illinois as kind of a trendy public dog at this point on the Big Ten slate. Is that what you're seeing, or are you seeing Wisconsin getting some of the money as compared to what I'm saying?
On wagertalk.com, 68% of the bets, 63% of the money coming in on Illinois. Our new source here basically had an opening number from Chris of 8. Basically, the public number that was released has been 7. I will tell you that it looks like it's leaking like the next move is going to be 6.5. The first time I took eyes on this one, I thought it was an Illinois number all the way. I was, you usually expect the mighty Wisconsin to be closer to at least a double-digit favorite here. Is it fair that we're remembering what they looked like against Ohio State, which, again, I don't think is fair? This team, listen, they're good. We always know there's a hiccup somewhere, and I can't wait to see it. I don't know where it could be. This offense is just like a juggernaut. And I'll keep saying it till I'm proven wrong. It's Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and then a huge gap. So I think it's an Illinois number.
That's where my eyes were leading that way too. At the end of the day, I'm staying away. On paper, that's where my head was leading too. You have Brett Bielema, I think, returning as a visiting coach for the first time to Wisconsin. Last year was in Illinois, so I believe this should be his first trip back to Wisconsin, which adds some factor into it. Maybe that makes you trust Illinois a little bit more. I typically, Wisconsin, after a loss, and especially after a bad loss like you're talking about with Ohio State, I trust their defense to bounce back here. But if you're going to convince me that Illinois' defense is going to have a nice day against Wisconsin, I can absolutely listen to that 100%. It would not shock me if this is a nasty, grimy, 3-point, 14-13 type game or something like that. The one thing that I'm kind of backing off of in Illinois' case, Chase Brown, I've talked about him in the last few weeks. I think he's leading the nation in rushing yards right now. And I talked about he should have some nice days the last few weeks, but now the road kind of changes. Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota the next 3 weeks. He's not going to be leading the nation in rushing after this week, or let alone after any of those weeks. So I'm not buying into that one. I think he could. He had against 2 of those 3 teams really rough outings last year. So again, I'm honestly leaning towards an Illinois, or I guess I'm leaning towards staying well altogether. If I had to do anything, it would be some type of lack of points here, because I trust the defenses more than I trust these offenses. Illinois under 18.5 maybe, or maybe the game total altogether. But at the end of the day, too many differing factors for me. I'm staying out of it. The one thing I do trust is Wisconsin's defense, but I don't know what the strongest play here is in these 2 teams for my case.
I think this is a classic 24-17, 23-17. I think it will be a battle. I am not jumping in on this one. I would definitely play the Illinois side. But with that said, I know I could easily get egg on my face here. A Wisconsin, up by 4, up by 6, and then, a late turnover, late field goal lands on 9 or 10.
Yep. So it's going to keep me staying away. I'm interested to watch it. Maybe we'll be surprised by either one of these teams. But, staying away for now. Michigan, Iowa is the next one up. This line's been moving around half a point a little bit. Was, I know, 11 earlier in the week. It's 10.5 I'm seeing right now. I think it's been 10.5 for a while now. But you got the number 4 team in the country versus an offensively challenged team that everyone knows how offensively challenged they are. And yet it's only 10.5, 11. I'm not saying I love Iowa in this spot, but I trust their defense, kind of like I was trusting Wisconsin's defense to some degree. Michigan's good. They're certainly a top 4 team in the Big Ten. If you want to make the case that they're the second best team in the conference, by all means, I'm not going to stop you there. But they're not Superman. Like I was saying to you at the start, if it wasn't for that botched kickoff at the start of the game, Maryland might have a chance of a legitimate chance of winning that game. They had a legitimate chance of winning the game regardless of that play. Another thing I'm curious your perspective, at least in these Big Ten games early in the season from we've saw, one of these situations where last time these 2 teams met, it was the Big Ten championship, 12-point favorite for Michigan, and they win 42-3, and now it's 10.5, and I imagine people are expecting they see this, they're expecting Michigan to roll right again. So I'm leaning to Iowa in some type of fashion. Shout out to I read his article. I'm not too familiar with who he is personally, but Chase Howell had a stat. Iowa is 5-1-1 as a home dog in their last 7 against teams that are ranked 7th in the nation or better. So as a dog in those situations, 5-1-1 with 4 outright wins. I'm leaning towards Iowa in this one. Am I taking crazy pills? Am I going to have egg on my face when Petrus has 3 interceptions and they're putting up a total of 3 points? You think so?
Well, your eyes are spot on. Your stats are spot on. I like to say trends can be your friends. Mm-hmm. This Iowa offense is just putrid. If you lay money on Iowa, I will just tell you very nicely, don't watch the game. It is going to be so damn ugly. And the key to success is getting out front. Playing keep away, moving the chains, because if let's just say Michigan scores on their opening drive or their second drive, they're up 7-0. Iowa's 3 and out, 3 and out, or puts in that field goal. Once they get down 14-3, 13-3. Their
Yeah.
offense just, now this will be the game they shock us. They get a punt return, they get a block kick, they get something, but your eyes are spot on. And that 10 and a hook, I'll go on record here saying I think that hook probably will come into play here.
Yeah, probably save you. So I had written down, and don't have a definitive play on this one. If you're talking like I'm talking, are you more confident in Iowa in the points or back in their defense? Michigan under 26.5 team total. Maybe Iowa makes this a nasty game. Because I'll have even more egg on my face if Michigan wins 17-3 and I botch a cover, but Iowa's defense holds them way under this team total. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll get the real sign right now from you. What is Iowa's team total?
15.5. Over -120, under -110.
Okay, it's 15.5. Okay.
Yeah.
My initial thought on that would be that the public would say it's going under.
Right.
Okay. Had a game last night, Utah State versus BYU.
Okay.
And shame on me. I tried to get cute. I took BYU first half, and I lost. My first inkling all week was Utah State team total was 17.5, juiced under -135. I should have grabbed the +115 because everyone wants to take the under there. It was 17.5. And you got that one in the third quarter. So your eyes are going to tell you, well, Iowa's going to score probably 14 or less. Where the smart play is Iowa's team total over 15.5.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's honestly, it's to a point where, and I think I mentioned, if you go back and watch our Friday shows of these 2 weeks ago, some type of situation where if Iowa bit me in the ass, maybe I stay away from them for good, and that's probably where I should be at with this Iowa team and their offense. But no, I'm 100% with you. I mean, I don't think this one's as cut and dry as Michigan just rolling 42-3 like they did last time. So at least I think there's more we're talking about with this one for sure, like we have here. So moving on to the next one, still the go ahead.
I just got breaking news from our friend Marty Lowe down in Bama. This is changing gears, but Blake Griffin has signed a 1-year contract with the Boston Celtics.
Really? Okay. Should we save thoughts for, or you want to give your knee-jerk reaction there?
Oh man, I've been watching him for a few years now. A friend of mine has season tickets, and when he was on I want to say Pistons.
Yeah, it was Clippers. Then he got traded to the Pistons.
He shell of himself there, and we were 5 rows from the center court. And I was just like, wow, how the mighty have fallen. And then to watch them the last couple of years, they need someone, obviously, Gallinari hurt, Williams out for probably till the start of the 2023. It's a warm body. It's a veteran. I think he fits in well. Put it this way. I'd rather see this move than the other talk that they were talking about with Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, yeah. But yes. No, I've been a Carmelo fan, but at this stage, by a country mile. And I would assuming the contract is slim, it's probably a low risk, decent reward, and he's been better at understanding his role. It's like unlike a Carmelo Anthony who hasn't really molded into the role player role to the most part. He's getting better at it. But yeah. No, I think it's if it's a low risk, low reward situation and you're on a low contract, then a 1-year deal by no means is an issue there. So, got some Bulls news as far as Lonzo Ball, some optimism yesterday. So I'm feeling okay, better about that than I was. So, but anyways, we'll have some NBA talk for a later date, I'm sure. I'm getting juiced. I've been doing some. It's about the time where I start my research. But back to the Big Ten and the early slate. Last one on the early slate. Purdue and Minnesota, already talked about a little bit. Aiden O'Connell, Purdue's quarterback, game-time decision. I want to get your opinion. Is this the 12, is this a line where it sounds like O'Connell's definitely out? Or am I drinking too much of the Purdue Kool-Aid of when he's in? And if he's out, this one's going to balloon even higher. Which side are you thinking this is here?
Well, we got a number of 10. So let me break this down here. Purdue, initially opened at plus 10, now is to 12. So we'll go plus 12 at Minnesota. As you stated here, Minnesota has just been steamrolling people. The number is obviously trending in the public's eye that he's not going to play.
Yeah.
I will just state this. Purdue got me good last week. We had that team total over. And, of course, we had egg on our face there. But a 52, I'm just going to say the initial thoughts, and I hate to say it this way because of the quarterback, but the 10, that's a Purdue number that they were going to find a way to cover. And this Minnesota team, as you said, is one of those teams that I think in Vegas hasn't caught up to them yet. And I think that number's off.
No, I think so. My thought was if O'Connell is healthy and playing, I don't think Purdue should be a double-digit underdog to anyone in this conference other than Ohio State. And maybe I'm drinking too much Kool-Aid on Purdue because I think they're really good when they are healthy. And watching Burton, you can back me up if you would like or disagree. Burton didn't look like anything special. It was a lot of dink and dunk. 5 yard was his average or something like that. And now you're looking at a Minnesota team defensively. First 3 games, nothing special, but they did it against Michigan State last week too. They're number 1 in the country defensive yards allowed, number 3 in offensive yards. Tanner Morgan, he's not winning any Heisman Awards, but 77% completion. How much would Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin pay right now to have him come on over and quarterback for those teams right now? But the guy, though, Mohamed Ibrahim of Minnesota, anyone that's listening right now, I took it today. Go and take a tiny little sprinkle, 90-1 on this man to win the Heisman Trophy Award. If you think I'm drinking too much Kool-Aid, then by all means, laugh at me. But 2020, 7 games, he scored 15 touchdowns, only played 1 game last year and got hurt. 15 touchdowns over 7 games, and that's just rushing touchdowns. Second right now in the nation in yards behind Chase Brown. Chase Brown's about to fall off. Second in touchdowns in the nation behind Michigan's Corum. Shout out to the Big Ten for littering up on the big nation's rushing leaders there. But not only that, but the schedule of Minnesota, Wisconsin and Iowa, the last 2 games, including this one, the next 6, Ibrahim's got a favorable path to continue to rack up these types of numbers. And so I am, if you don't think he's going to be there and he's not going to win, then by all means. But I do think this number is going to go down to like 30 or 20-1 by November. So I really think he's got a fantastic shot of being a dark horse for the Heisman Trophy Award, and especially if Minnesota continues to win. If they're undefeated through 10 games or even 1 loss going into the Big Ten title game, he's going to have a lot more eyes on him, and he's going to have a lot more respect on whatever numbers he's putting up. So I've got, I thought it was 80-1 on FanDuel, 90-1 on DraftKings. Anyone, if you see any better numbers, let me know. But
what's the name again?
Mohamed Ibrahim. Ibrahim. Mohamed Ibrahim. Dude was a stud in 2020. Minnesota just wasn't as good. I think they were 3-4. Otherwise, probably would have got more love. And then going into last year, a ton of hype, and then he gets hurt in week 1 against Ohio State. Dude's been an absolute monster so far. The schedule allows for it, and this team is really good. He is going to be, health permitted, he's going to be up there, top 10 by the end of the season, in my opinion here. So,
if you look at their advanced schedule, do they have Ohio State?
No, it's they've got Purdue, Illinois, Penn State, Rutgers, Nebraska, Northwestern, and then Iowa and Wisconsin are the last 2 games. Those are the two toughest rush defenses they will face this entire season.
At Penn State or at home?
At Penn State, that would be the other one. That's their biggest game that they've got on the schedule other than potentially the Big Ten championship.
Okay, nice.
So I'm in love with the guy. He's an absolute stud. So anyways, yeah, any leans on this game, especially here? You waiting on some QB news, or are you feeling good about either side here?
Well, I think Minnesota's outpriced, overpriced, however you're going to say it. If the QB is out, they'll probably go to 14 to kick off, and under over a 52. So let me see, basic math here, 27.
Limit increase.
17, 27, 17 gets you to third. No, so you're telling me that Purdue's team total is probably at this point 20 and a hook?
I see 19.5 minus 130, under 19.5 at plus 100.
19.5 wants you to take the over. So
Right.
Purdue gets the 17. And then Minnesota under over 30 and a half.
32 and a half,
Yeah.
minus
And they,
115.
they want you to bet the under there
Yep.
because it's going to go. So they're telling me right now the final score is 31-17, 30-17.
Yeah. No, that's about what I'm saying, or about what I'm seeing as well. And yeah, I'll hold on to my Ibrahim ticket and take that as far as I possibly can, and I'll continue to talk about how good Minnesota is. And hopefully, I'll after this game, if Aiden O'Connell comes back, Purdue could have a really, really solid opportunity to get themselves back into this picture and be a competitive team. Maybe even 8-4 type season by the end of it, and have a really respectable season. So, we'll move on to the next one here. Next portion of the slate, afternoon slate, Michigan and Maryland was mentioned. I'm interested to get your take on this one. Really interested, and I'm unclear on the public perception of both these teams, but I guess Michigan State especially, number 11 team in the country before that Washington game. Then I think they drop all the way out of the rankings after they lose, and then they obviously get their ass kicked to Minnesota. Do you have any sense of what the perception of this Michigan State team? Do they still believe in them after those two games? Are they completely out on them after those two games? Any idea from you what the people believe about the Spartans here?
The Spartans have left the building.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no faith. I'll go back and play the tapes when they were, as you said, 11th in the country, going to Washington, and they opened up dogs at 1.5, got steamed to 3.5. We had the over there. They get basically steamrolled there. And then, as you just said, their last game. So the public's perception is they suck.
Yeah. And really, maybe the perception of Maryland isn't quite there yet. They lose to Michigan last week by a touchdown. But if Michigan State continues to play the way they have the last 2 weeks, and Maryland shows up with any type of efficiency and firepower, tell me why Maryland can't score 40 in this game. I mean, I've obviously said a handful of things about Maryland. I mean, maybe the one thing possibility for some light rain and some 10-mile-an-hour wind. So maybe that one makes it tougher for Maryland here, but Michigan State's offense just doesn't have any firepower. I mean, their pass defense has been brutal. Their offense just isn't keeping up with anyone. So, is this one as cut and dry as thinking Maryland should roll in this one, or is Maryland going to have some regression in this one, you think?
Well, as I stated a few seconds ago when we were on live, when they went to Washington, I was like, holy shit, this number is way too high. And then we had the over and they flew over it. Well, let me just replay the tape now for everyone. This, as you just said, this Michigan State team is fallen on desperate waters, offensively challenged. We know Maryland can score with the best of them. Tough spot. They were in a big game last week. Now they come home. Let me just give you the actual under-over opening number of 60 and a hook. The number that was released was 59, some 58s. It's down to 57.5 in some spots, 58 right now at our friends at Circa. I will tell everyone watching and listening, go bet the over in this game, and you can retweet it when it cashes.
I love it. I'm just trying to get a weather check here. I mean, it might be some rain, but it's not going to be, it's not going to be nasty, really affect the game. So, I'm with you. I think Maryland puts up a boatload of points. And Michigan State, they're offensively challenged. They really just don't have any firepower. That doesn't mean they can't score, though. I think their offense will bounce back a little bit here. So I think I'm with you. I really just can't get a gauge on up until you're, outside of the Big Ten country telling me what the people are thinking of Michigan State. So I appreciate that, obviously. So moving on, I think only 3 more here. Northwestern at Penn State. Obviously, Northwestern is looking ugly. 25-point dogs now at Penn State. Last year's game, 31-7. Penn State's got a bye before Michigan. They get Michigan in 2 weeks. They get a bye. So, probably not going to be looking ahead too much. They've got plenty of time to look ahead to Michigan. So, you would expect them to show up here. Gun to my head, I think Northwestern can hang in there, but you've obviously heard me talking about Northwestern. I obviously, aside from week 0, have not been very right about this team here. So, gun to my head, I'll say Northwestern can score some. I think it's 13.5 is their team total, you would, they're begging you to take the over. I think they maybe get to exactly 13 there. So I'm going to stay away from this one here. And, I assume Penn State will roll. Don't know by how many points here.
All right, so you're spot on. Where most likely Northwestern gets 13 or less, and under over a 51, the consensus right now. 34-13, that's not enough. 40-13 is 27. So you got a Penn State team total 37 and a hook?
Exactly. Minus 115.
Yeah. So I'll just tell everyone, final score, Penn State 37, Northwestern 13, and it goes under.
Spot on that one. Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you there. Northwestern's defense is just flat out bad. Their offense isn't terrible, but up against Penn State, I think it's not anything worth betting on in this one. If I always say if it's a toss up like this, and you're betting on either spread, you got to be an alumni of one of them, and you're betting on Pride 100% there.
I'm going to ask you the question. Now, we know we don't have the crystal ball. We don't have Biff's Almanac here. Penn State rolls, week off. What's Riley's opening line at the Big House?
Let's see. So Michigan's got Iowa today or tomorrow, and then Indiana. Man, that's a good question. 2.5? Michigan by 2.5?
If I told you I talked to the mayor yesterday about this, 6.5.
Michigan minus 6.5? Okay. Okay, interesting. Actually, now I do see. I don't know how I see 5.5 right now on a look ahead spot right here. So I will probably be taking Penn State if it's at that number there. I think Penn State. I think they're in the same stratosphere, honestly. So I think that's too inflated. We'll see what happens until then, though.
I agree. I said, well, if they want Penn State money, they'd have it at 7.5. And I didn't see what the look ahead line was. And I figured probably 6.5, 7 was the number. And the last couple of years when Michigan's been in this spot with Harbaugh and this team, they've rolled. Yeah. And you got look aheads there. Where is the Ohio State game this year?
I think it's at Ohio. They were in the Big House last year with the snow, so that one's got to be. Yeah, it's at Ohio State, November 26th. There.
So if you had a look ahead line, I would just say, and this is me being crazy, I think it's Ohio State -9.
It's -10 right now.
Yeah.
-10. And I told you before the season with Ohio State, in my opinion, being far better than them and a revenge spot, I will take Ohio State by 3 scores if you give it to me, for God's sake. So interesting look ahead spots there. Ohio State's got a decently reasonable path to roll the next few weeks. And we can lead right into them right now because they are hosting the Rutgers Charlotte Knights. Rutgers 3-1 straight up. They are coming off a loss to Iowa 27-10. That's their first loss of the season. Ohio State -39.5. You've been talking, and very rightfully so, about Ohio State's team totals. I, on some public books, was struggling to find any team totals in this game to this point. So if you are seeing them anywhere, please let us know. But, kind of implied 48-10 here. Just a quick rundown before you have any thoughts on this one. Ohio State is 8-0 against Rutgers since they joined. 49 points or more scored in all 8 of those games dating back to 2014. 6-2 to the number, despite some pretty massive spreads there. Another one where there's a possibility for some light rain, 13-mile-an-hour wind. But yeah, I was struggling to find some team totals. I don't love playing these huge types of spreads, but I'd be willing to bet that Ohio State gets up over 50 and Rutgers struggles to get past 14. But I'm not in love with anything. Any thoughts from you between these two?
39 and a hook, 57.5, 58.
Yep.
40 to 10, no, 50. Wow, this is 45-7, no.
48 to 10.
40,
Limit increase.
48 to 7. 48 to 7 gets you to 55, which still isn't enough. Wow. So you got to tell me, yeah, they're going to have an Ohio State team total of a 50 burger. I mean, it's 50 to 7.
Yeah.
No, that's
It's like 48 to 10, 49, 9.5 type, that ballpark basically.
Lord have mercy. See, we talked all season, preseason. When you saw the 37 and a hook, 38, if they gave you 38 and a half, you slapped them afterward and thanked them. When you're talking 50 burgers, 48 burgers, 49, it could be a 41-0 at halftime. Yeah. And, Stroud and company don't see the fourth quarter. Shit. They're pricing you out now.
I know. 25-point spread in the first half. I mean, I don't love taking that number by any means, but I don't know. I'm not taking anything. Like I said, I was struggling to even find team totals. Rutgers in these matchups, I mentioned 49-plus points. It's a range of 49 to 58 across 8 games for Ohio State. But Rutgers, there's been a couple times where they put up 21, 27 points. So, yeah, you could see Ohio State's defense coasting a little bit, but it's not like Rutgers' offense is any good. I don't know. Gun to my head, I think Ohio State covers this, but I'm not taking it. That's where I'm at.
Who's Ohio State got next week?
They go to Michigan State. So they should roll over Michigan State, but obviously that's they're only, I see a look at a minus 13 right now at Michigan State.
Wow, I had my first number that came into my head was 22.
I was going to say 3 touchdowns is what I think when I see that one.
God, guys, it's a popcorn game. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, nobody respects Rutgers, so whether it's the books or the public, so that definitely doesn't help. Whereas, any other Big Ten team, you could probably get some shred of respect in some fashion to get you a reasonable number. So, I'll stay away from it.
Do you have a Rutgers team total?
No, I like I said, the public books aren't even offering a team total for me at this point. So
they've been getting crushed on the Ohio State team total.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe you bet on Rutgers to get up over, I assume the number is 13 and a half max. If actually, it's probably less than that, but maybe you take a swing at Rutgers getting the 13, 14 points, but I don't know.
So 50 to 13 is 63. So no, because that's 63. We got a total of 57. So as you said,
maybe an over? I don't know.
They want you to bet the over, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I'm not touching it.
I don't think Rutgers gets to double digits.
Okay. No, I'm with you. I mean, gun to my head. Like I said, I'm not taking anything, but if I had to take anything, I would take Ohio State to win by 50, I guess, would be my opinion. I think they roll. But, not strong enough to feel like getting into this one. So, one more left, my friend. We didn't get to talk about them last week. They got a week off from any speculation or hope or circus news. But the Nebraska Cornhuskers host the Indiana Hoosiers. This one is in Nebraska. 5.5. I see actually 4.5, 5.5, even 6 in some spots. This one is kind of all over the place on different books here from what I see. 60.5, 61 on the total. Nebraska off of a bye week. Curious your thoughts here, but I do not have much faith in Indiana at all. They are 3-1. They should be 1-3. Team totals 33.5, 27.5. Is Nebraska's defense even off of a bye? Is Nebraska's defense, whether it's off a bye or not, is it bad enough to let this Indiana team score 24, 27 plus? Is it that bad?
60 and a 3.5. That was the number. 61 and 4.5. So I'm going to say the consensus is now 4.5. The numbers that intrigue me is they want you to go over on the Indiana team total of 27.5.
Yeah.
That 33.5 in Nebraska, they want you to go under. So, I mean, 34, 35, 27 is something that I'm looking at now. If you put a gun to my head right now, I would suggest the Nebraska team total over 33.5. You would hope that week would settle the troops.
Yeah.
Give me the next 4 games for Nebraska.
Sure. Let's see. They go to Rutgers on Friday night. That's a winnable game. They go to Purdue after that, and then they host Illinois in a revenge game after that. And then I guess that's 3 games, and then they host Minnesota after that.
All right. So don't forget, when the season started, their team total was 7.5, and the Sharps, the respected money was on the over initially.
Yeah.
So talking out loud here, they're supposed to get this win, but I think the actual number is low. They're enticing you to take Nebraska here. But I could see, I mean, I don't know if you have a look ahead line. I mean, because in college football, shit happens, week to week to week. But currently, just in form, Minnesota should be -9 or something going to Lincoln in a month, the way the form is right now. So
yeah, I don't have a look ahead on that one. They don't have any look aheads the next 4. They got look aheads for their last 3, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Iowa, but nothing for the next few here.
Yeah, I lean Nebraska team total over 33.5 in this one.
Okay, no, I'm with you. I really just out on Indiana for the most part here. I kind of lean, I like you said, they want you to take Nebraska here, so I'm staying away from the spread. That gun to my head, if I had to take the spread, I'm going to Nebraska. I trust them off of a bye up against this Indiana team, but the team totals are a little more enticing to me as well. I think Indiana's defense is bad. As long as Nebraska shows up the way they did, X out that Oklahoma game. If Nebraska's offense shows up the way they did the first 3 weeks, they should absolutely fly over that team total.
I had to sit there, and this has been the joke of the week, because my allegiance or alliance, whatever the damn word is, with Nebraska. 80s, Dr. Tom, Tommy Frazier, Urban Fryer, 4th and 8, call a timeout. We get into the trenches. We look you straight in the eye and say, guess what? 4th and 8, we're going to run it right at you, and we'll get the first down, and we do.
Yeah.
And obviously the shit has hit the fan. I jokingly said there was a clone playing for Kansas State named Adrian Martinez. And I'm like, he looked like Heisman Adrian Martinez at Oklahoma, 13-point dogs and went outright. And I was like, why can't Nebraska get guys like this? Oh, shit. He used to be the quarterback of Nebraska.
And bad enough going 1-3 this season after the hype they've had, but the slaps in the face that they've taken on the others weeks with now Northwestern being 1-3, losing to not only Southern Illinois, but now Miami, Ohio. You've got your former quarterback not only looking awesome, but going into was it at Oklahoma or was that either way? Whether it was home or away, it was home. No, I think it was home, wasn't it? I could be wrong. I think it was it doesn't even matter. Doing that up against Oklahoma regardless. It's just another slap in the face.
Yeah.
I'm going to double check. I think it was at either way, though. Going against Oklahoma, your bitter rival, and smacking them in the face and get the win. It was at Oklahoma. No, you were right. It was at Oklahoma. So, just the stray slaps in the face that they keep taking. People talking about coaching jobs, and someone will say, why the hell would that person leave that job to go to Nebraska? There's so many stray shots. So I hope they can pull themselves out of this and be competitive. But might take a couple years. We'll see. Who knows? But nonetheless, that is the full 7-game slate of the Big Ten, my friend. Anything to add, whether it's the Big Ten or any other college games this weekend?
My 2 leans would be over in the Michigan State, Maryland, 57.5, wherever you shop. Nebraska team total over 33 and a hook there. And I'm going to throw a third one out there, and it's going to be as ugly as it gets, people. But Iowa team total over 15.5. I think they somehow get to 17. I don't know how. Maybe it's 6 overtimes. I don't know. I think the Wisconsin number initially smells. Now, am I giving too much love to Illinois there? I don't know. But it's nice as we're 4 or 5 weeks in, these conferences are starting to shake themselves out. There's some big games in the SEC. It's kind of comical going to the SEC where Arkansas gets doinked last week. against A&M.
Yeah.
And the whole world was on Arkansas. Now they got to play at home against Bama. And I just try to tell people, listen, it's 17 for a reason. I mean, listen, you start the game at home with an Arkansas Razorback team getting 17. I get it. I understand it. But you got to go to the mental aspect where they played their hearts out for 60 minutes. They were right there. Now you got to bounce back at home with the cowbells and everything going on with the Bama team, which some people are saying, hey, Jeff, how'd they do against Texas? No, you're right. You're right. But that was also what, the first game of the year or the second game? I'm not even sure.
They're rolling now.
Yeah, they are rolling. So just be careful there. I think it's a decent slate. It's not a great slate. Because we're going to have our own show tomorrow morning. But the one number that kind of really stands out to me, and I kind of want to get your thoughts before we close here. Is it more respect on this side, or is the other team just that bad? I think it's a big number, but LSU -8 at Auburn.
Let's see. I was actually thinking you were going to mention a different game. So ask your question to me again. I was thinking you were going to say a different game. Ask your question.
I saw that number and I was like, whoa. I was like, I guess we're respecting Brian Kelly and he's putting the team, they're rolling. I brought this up to a few of our colleagues and they're saying, no, Auburn's that bad. Now, I was the one touting Penn State -3 at Auburn, and they rolled. They rolled them. Now, LSU is -8.
I think it's a little bit of respect for LSU. Maybe their best days are ahead of them this season with Brian Kelly, not Chip Kelly, sorry. And Auburn's worst days could still be ahead of them. Maybe not a 30-point blowout like they had at Penn State, but I mean they should have lost to Missouri last week. I was ranting and raving. That was one of the biggest bad beats of the weekend last weekend. Auburn and Missouri. Missouri should have won that game twice. I mean, so. And maybe that probably helps this line a little bit. Everyone, saw the collapse there, and so maybe it's inflated by a point or two because that type of moment can, really, really drive home someone's public perception, especially after they just lost to Penn State. So maybe this one should be a 7.5, but I think Auburn's just not a very good team. I mean, they're too one-dimensional. They can't throw the ball enough. So yeah. The other one that I thought you were going to go to. Same conference, the number 7 and 14 teams in the country, Ole Miss -7. Is that a respect to Ole Miss, or I think we haven't seen too much of Ole Miss. Are you calling bullshit on that, or is that enough? Is that fair respect to Ole Miss there?
Our producer, Mr. Kiefer Madness, will be at the game. Nice. Ole Miss. When you're getting Kentucky, other than against a Bama or a Georgia with 7 points, that's usually the side you're supposed to go to. Can you see in front of your notes, is there a potential injury that's causing this? Because I think the number's a little high. Go to my info here. Kentucky running back suspended. Eligible to return against Mississippi on Saturday, and for Mississippi wide receiver missed the 2 games. Not sure. I think the number's high. I think that number is a little high. They want the Kentucky money. I'm going to stay away. I would give everyone listening here the lean to Ole Miss, because I think it's high. The next move is going back to 6.5, by the way. I get 7s all across the board at even money or at 05. So you probably wake up in the morning and it's going to be 6.5.
Right. No, I was leaning towards, I was reading today, Kentucky a little misleading. They don't really have many explosive plays. Tom Fornelli, a fellow Big Ten man who covers the Big Ten very well, was talking about that game a little bit, and Kentucky fans were roasting him because he mentioned in his write-up lack of offensive explosive plays, and they've got like a handful of 40-yard bombs or something like that, but it's against Northern Illinois and Miami, Ohio, whatnot. So. And Ole Miss, on the other hand, can get pretty explosive. So, if Kentucky's offense is working, then I think that's the right side. But I think we could be in for a nice offensive day from Ole Miss in that one for sure.
4 o'clock my time, 3 o'clock you time. Is that okay?
Today? Let's see. Actually, I did not realize I haven't been on Friday afternoons. That might not be okay. I'm hitting some Friday Night Lights tonight. My brother coaches some high school football, so I actually might not be available for that today.
Okay, that's fine. Saturday and potentially Sunday mornings.
Absolutely. 100% in for those.
All right. So at 4 o'clock today, I will be flying solo with Mr. Lucky. We will be breaking down this week's NFL. We will be breaking down Zerka. I'll do a closing bell on my own. And then Saturday and Sunday morning currently, unless Scott gets power and I'll talk to him, I don't think he'll be available. You and I will break down tomorrow the college slate. We'll just pick a handful of games and we'll break through them. And then on Sunday, we'll break down the NFL. I want you to obviously enjoy your Friday night lights.
Yeah, no, if it primed me, I'm sure I could have moved some stuff around, but yeah, no. First, my brother's been coaching high school football for a few years. He's out in the suburbs, and my girlfriend and I haven't been out to any games this year. And it's one of my college roommates. It's his old high school that they're playing. His brothers go to school there, so it's going to be a nice evening. Yeah, my father coached high school football for 30 years, so Friday Night Lights are in the blood. So, and it's been a while since I've been out there, so I'm excited to get back out there tonight.
Well, I'll date myself. I graduated in '84. Okay. So if you do the basic math, I'm 38 years out and I still go to my high school games and people look at me like, what the hell are you doing? Both my girls graduated from Boston. I got a feel for, there's nothing better than a Friday night game. Grab a pizza before or after and just watch the kids play.
Yeah, no, I love it. Like I said, I played football up until my freshman year. I was not, that was not my bread and butter as far as me playing it, but yeah, my father coached for 30 years. We were a very, very football-centric town, so it was an event going to those games. And it's been a while since I've been, like I said, been out to any Friday night games. And I am not going to call you crazy for that at all, especially if you get a nice atmosphere there. So yeah, I'm excited tonight. My brother coaches in the booth, so it is a little weird watching complete strangers when your brother's up behind you, and he. My girlfriend was laughing. Maybe get a camera on him, and we get a nice sound. Dorsey throwing papers around, Notre Dame screaming at his court. Maybe we get a nice booth reaction from my brother tonight. But we'll see on that one.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one in only Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one. We wish everyone a blessed day today. Again, thoughts and prayers out to the people in Florida and the cleanup crews and all the guys trying to put the state back together. It will be a long process. So everyone, if you don't have power, don't yell and scream at the guys. They're busting their ass. They're doing everything in their power to get you power. So myself and Mr. Lucky will be back around 4 o'clock. I'll have a closing bell. I'll have a half hour with Mr. Lucky. Saturday morning, we'll be back with Riley. We'll break down the college slate. Sunday, the NFL. And then next week, we talk some MLB playoffs. Wow.
The old Milwaukee Brewers are creeping up on that wild card spot there, my friend. I'm sure we can still stick to our guns on the Phillies holding it, but I know the Brewers fans were thanking the Cubs quite a bit last night.
Yes, we talked about it. The heart and determination of the Brewers and the Devin Williams and the back end versus Bryce Harper and the no back end. How's that sound?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, hey, maybe the Brewers can catch some fire offensively the last few days here, but nonetheless, I am excited for next week and some playoff baseball.
All right, peeps, we'll see you in a few hours. Behave and see you soon.